Yeah, in the pure consciousness. So reflected. Yeah, I've got it. I've got the text. So do we have to read or have we already read it?
We have to read.
Okay, then go ahead. Who will read? Page number is 97 according to CWSA. Reflected in the pure consciousness of Purusha.
Yeah, it's a small paragraph. I'll read
Yeah,
it.
very small. Yeah, go ahead.
Reflected in the pure consciousness of Purusha, these degrees and powers of nature force become the material of our impure subjectivity. Impure because its action is dependent on the perceptions of the objective world and their subjective reactions. Buddhi, which is simply the determinative power that determines all inertly out of indeterminate inconscient force, takes for us the form of intelligence and will. Manas, the inconscient force which seizes nature's discriminations by objective action and reaction and grasps at them by attraction, becomes sense perception and desire, the two crude terms or degradations of intelligence and will. Becomes the sense mind, sensational, emotive, volitional in the lower sense of wish, hope, longing, passion, vital impulsion, all the deformations or vikara of the will. The senses become the instruments of sense mind, the perceptive five of our sense knowledge, the active five of our impulsions and vital habits, mediators between the subjective and objective. The rest are the objects of our consciousness, vishayas of the senses.
Okay. So the language is very complex, but we'll go and look at what he's saying. The first word itself is a very important word, reflected. Okay. So you have a pure consciousness of the soul, which is like a white screen. Okay. When you are in the higher mind level, when you have gone out of the body mind life, your consciousness is like a white screen, featureless, and you are only conscious and no movement at all. And on that screen is being reflected the events and objects and everything in the physical world, body, mind, life, events in the matter, events in the vital, and events in the mind, thoughts, emotions, and physical objects. They are all images being thrown on your screen, and the screen, which is your soul, starts thinking that I am experiencing these objects. Actually, it is not. Okay, it's an imposition. The world images are being imposed upon your soul, and the soul, in a ignorant condition, because it is in the body mind life imprisoned, it thinks that it is thinking, it is emoting, it is doing things. Okay, so but it's a reflection. When you go to the higher mind level, you realize that the world is only a reflection. And reflection of what? That also we'll just quickly, because we have said that many times, but it will settle in the mind. You are experiencing the world not as it is directly, but through your senses. Okay, that's the important thing. When you go into the spiritual planes of consciousness, you are not using senses, and you directly experience without the intervention of the senses. But now at our normal level, a world is being experienced through the senses. If the senses don't exist, the world doesn't exist for you. And the senses also are a triple force. The force of the senses, eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin. And the world is impacting on these senses. The senses are gathering data, sending through the nerves to the brain, and the brain is interpreting what you are doing and so what you are experiencing of the world is what your brain is telling you. It's an image in your brain. It's not the world at all. When you go into the higher planes of consciousness, the intervention of the senses doesn't apply, and you can directly, without instrumentation of senses, you can experience the world in different ways. It's a gradation. So this is what he's saying. Reflected in the pure consciousness of Purusha. Purusha is a witness self at one level. Okay, Purusha is, it can be there at the lowest level, it can be there at the highest level. When you speak of Purusha, it is basic consciousness. But consciousness at the lowest level is sleeping. And when it is slowly rising at the vital level, the Purusha becomes the vital being. then it becomes the mental being, then it becomes the higher mind being, 11th mind being, etc., until finally it wakes up completely and knows itself to be the infinite. Okay, so this is what he's saying. The Purusha, reflected in the pure consciousness of Purusha, the pure consciousness of Purusha is only at the higher mind level. These degrees and powers of nature force. He is speaking of what he said earlier, the Panchabhuta and the 10 numbers, all the sight, sound, smell. This is the Sankhya philosophy, okay? So I refer you back to the chart that I have given you long time back, okay? I'll just show you I have given you the chart a long time back. It's on my page is 67. So I'll just show you on the camera, but maybe you don't have the camera, so you may not see. But yeah, this is the chart that I showed you. Okay, in what are they? All these things that are there: ether, air, fire, water, earth. They are the Panchabhuta, Mahabhutas. Then you have the objects of the senses: sound, contact, form, taste, smell, and then you have the Jnanendriyas and the Karmendriyas. So all told, it comes to 24 principles. And these 24 principles are being thrown on the screen of your soul. And you are identifying yourself with it and thinking that I am part of the world and I am experiencing the world. You are not. You means your soul is not. Okay? You are only experiencing what the senses are telling you. So this is the 91. Let me get back to the text that we are reading today. So reflected in the pure consciousness of Purusha, these degrees and powers of nature force. All these 24 principles are in the nature. Okay, they are in the nature. Nature means universal nature, physical, vital, mental. That's all. These degrees and powers of the nature force become the material of our impure subjectivity. When your soul is in level 1 of the body-mind life, imprisoned in the body-mind life, it is impure. Okay, impure because its action is dependent upon the perceptions of the objective world, perceptions of the senses, and on their subjective reactions. So what is the perceptions of the objective world? Very interesting. Look carefully. Perceptions of the objective world is these Panchabhutas. Okay, and what are they? The senses. You are depending on the senses. And there is a reaction, the subjective reactions. There is an objective world and you experience it through your brain and the subjective action. The brain is telling you what you are seeing, what you are not seeing. Okay. I keep repeating this to become absolutely a fact of very, very clear fact, because remember, the senses are working in a small newborn child. Okay, all the senses are working, but he understands nothing at all. Why? Because the brain is not yet reacting and it has to learn how to react and interpret what it is saying. And the interpretation differs from individual to individual. If I am colorblind, my interpretation of what I am seeing will be different from what others are seeing. If my ears are very, very sharp, then I will hear things which others may not hear. We don't need to limit it only to human beings. We can also think of animals. No? The dogs have 10 times sharper ears than we have. The eagle has 10 times sharper eyes than we have. Okay. Then the chameleon has got eyes which go 180 degrees. We don't have that. So in other words, our senses are very limited, and there are definitely better physical senses even, which we don't have. So we are experiencing the world through what our senses and our brain is telling us. Okay. And the brain is that part of the brain which is interpreting the senses, manas, okay, in the physical mind. The equivalent word in English is the physical mind. So this is what is being told to us. And it is impure because defective instruments, that's why impure, okay? Because its action is dependent on the perceptions of the objective world, perceptions. Perceptions are through the senses. And you are also reacting by what the brain is telling you. If the brain is telling you that there is danger, you react, okay? And if the brain is telling you that it is raining, you react with an umbrella. So there is an incoming and an outgoing, okay? You are reacting, that's what I'm saying, subjective reaction. The words are, you have to interpret the words, okay? So subjective reaction. Now I go to the next sentence. Buddhi, which is simply the determinative power that determines all inertly out of indeterminate inconscient force, takes for us the form of intelligence and will. Okay, so intelligence and will is going back to the Sankhya philosophy. In the Sankhya philosophy, buddhi is that which is the intelligence and will also. Note interestingly, intelligence corresponds to chit and will corresponds to shakti. So it's coming down from there, from the Satchidananda, and becoming in our level intelligence and will. Manas, the inconscient force which seizes nature's discriminations by objective action and reaction. Again, he is repeating the same thing. You are reacting with the world. Manas is the inconscient force. Inconscient, it is mechanically, it is giving you images. Okay, that's why it is inconscient, manas. Inconscient force which seizes nature's discriminations. Now, what are nature's discriminations? The variations in the world, the stone, the tree, the animal, human beings. Okay, these are the nature's discriminations. Discrimination, making separate. Okay, so by objective action and reaction. Reaction is subjective. The world is sending you images through your senses and you are reacting in the world. Okay, so again we come back to the karmendriya and the jnanendriyas. Okay, and grasps at them by attraction, becomes sense perception and desire. So the sense mind is going to give you desire, because when you see something pleasant, you are attracted. When you see something unpleasant, you are repulsed. So the desire is born. The two crude terms of degradations of intelligence and will. So intelligence and will, when subjected to the oncoming attacks of the senses, becomes desire and repulsion. He is not talking about repulsion, but that also is there. Because the sense mind, sensational, emotive, volitional in the lower sense of wish, hope, longing, passion, vital impulsion, and all the deformations, vikara of will. So let's understand what he's saying here. Okay, the two crude terms of degradations of intelligence and will. Intelligence, consciousness. Will, force. But will, he's saying, okay, and okay, let's get back to the verbs. Becomes the sense mind. The sense mind becomes sensational. In other words, you actually, the sensations. The tongue is giving you a sensation of taste. The ears are giving you a sensation of sound. The eyes are giving you a sensation of sight. Okay, they are actually sensations because the nerves are carrying. The nerves are the carriers of sensations. If the nerves don't exist, no senses will be there. Okay, and it is so many different types. Sensation, emotive. Okay, emotive, the emotions of the higher vital. Volitional, but volitional is actually will, and vol is usually with the power, and that is aspect of the vital. There's a vital, higher vital or emotive, and a lower vital, which is the often the seat of your action, will. But that will can be of two types. There can be a will in the mind, there can be a will in the psychic, there can also be will in the lower sense. And the lower sense is what Swami is saying, it's only a wish, hope, longing, passion, vital impulsion, and all the deformations of will. This is the lower sense. Volitional, the word volitional is adjective from will, okay? And will can be higher will and lower will. And lower will is all desire based, okay? That's what he's saying. Then he's saying the senses become the instruments of sense mind. The senses are supplying data to the sense mind, and the sense mind is telling you what you're seeing. The perceptive, five of our sense knowledge. The active of our impulsions and habits, mediators between the subjective and objective. So, what are the five of sense knowledge? Karmendriyas, okay? Perceptive, eye, ear, no, sorry, not karmendriyas, jnanendriyas, okay? Giving you knowledge. Knowledge of the physical world. eye, ear, nose, tongue, and skin, and actify the karmendriyas. The you are interacting with the world through your karmendriyas, hands, legs, and the two organs at the lower end of the body, and also the mouth, because you can have an effect in the physical world through your words. Okay? So these are what he's saying. So this is the entire how you are experiencing the universe through your sense mind. And we think that we are experiencing. So they're saying all this because you have to get rid of this idea that you are experiencing the world directly. You are experiencing through your senses. So get rid of the intervention of the senses. How do you do that? By there are so many ways of doing it. You start observing only, and you start thinking, you start watching yourself, watch your vital, watch your mind. Okay, watching. Then you separate yourself, your consciousness separates itself from the images being reflected in your mind. Okay, so that's what he's saying. The rest are the objects of our consciousness, vishayas of the senses. Vishayas, sense objects. The physical world is all the sense objects. They, they are being experienced by the senses. That's what Sridhar is saying. So now we come to the next para, which is saying the evolution, the order. He is expounding the Sankhya philosophy. Okay, and you have to go get back to the chart. I gave you that chart long ago. You have to examine that chart carefully. How the evolution in the sense of involution. Sorry, there is an evolution from top to bottom, and there is an evolution from bottom to top. Both are essentially of the same character. The seed is evolving. Whatever is there inside, it is evolving downwards, and upwards the inconscient is evolving whatever is there inside it. Okay, only for convenience sake you call one evolution and you call the other involution. That's all, for convenience sake, but the process is the same. The supermind is a seed, and from the seed all these things come out, and the inconscient also is a seed, out of which again there is an evolution. For convenience sake, you call the downward movement involution, and the upward movement you call it evolution. That's all. So this order of evolution. Next para is there. You have to, somebody has to read. So Gitanjali read it just now. So
I can continue to read
pardon?
I can
No,
continue to read it if
no,
it's
let
okay.
somebody else read. Tarika, if she is ready, she can read. She is
Yeah.
familiar with the Gita. Okay.
Yeah, I will read, Ranganath.
Go ahead.
This order of evolution seems contrary to that which we perceive as the order of the material evolution. But if we remember that even buddhi is in itself an inert action of inconscient nature, and that there is certainly in this sense an inconscient will and intelligence, a discriminative and determinative force even in the atom. If we observe the crude inconscient stuff of sensation, emotion, memory, impulsion in the plant and in the subconscious forms of existence, if we look at these powers of nature force, assuming the forms of our subjectivity in the evolving consciousness of animal and man, we shall see that the Sankhya system squares well enough with all that modern inquiry has elicited by its observation of material nature. In the evolution of the soul, back from Prakriti towards Purusha, the reverse order has to be taken to the original nature evolution. And that is how the Upanishads and the Gita, following and almost quoting the Upanishads, state the ascending order of our subjective powers. Supreme, they say, beyond their objects are the senses. Supreme over the senses, the mind. Supreme over the mind, the intelligent will. That which is supreme over the intelligent will is He. Is the conscious self, the Purusha. Therefore, says the Gita, it is this Purusha, this supreme cause of our subjective life, which we have to understand and become aware of by the intelligence. In that, we have to fix our will. So, holding our lower subjective self in nature, firmly poised and stilled by means of the greater really conscious self, we can destroy the restless, ever active enemy of our peace and self mastery, the mind's desire.
Ah, okay, so interesting paragraph is going on. Very interesting. If you slowly, we have to think a lot about it and then get the basic knowledge and then look at what he's saying. It's highly interesting. This order of evolution. Okay. Now, evolution of cosmos in Sankhya, he is discussing. Okay. Actual evolution in integral philosophy of Sri Aurobindo, but in the Sankhya they are calling it evolution and we are calling it involution. The same thing. The Satchidananda descending into the physical world in degrees. Okay. As I told you, evolution and involution are basically the same thing. The seed is producing the tree. That's a basic idea. So it is same from up and it is same from below. It's a question of what you call. In the Sankhya, they call it evolution. Okay. So now what he's saying, the evolution in Sankhya is from up to down. Okay. This order of evolution seems contrary to that which we perceive as the order of the material evolution. That which is the seed above and that which is the seed below, they are opposite to each other. Okay. Because take the example of light, then it becomes very obvious. There is full light on top and it slowly becomes dark. Okay. This is the evolution in Sankhya. That which is latent in light is slowly evolving all these things and producing everything, and the multiplicity of the physical world finally is the infinite forms that come out of that one single light. And in the physical world, the inconscient is one single darkness, and out of that slowly are coming, going more and more towards the light and going towards oneness. In the Sankhya evolution, the one is becoming the many, and in the integral evolution or even in scientific evolution, the many are slowly climbing and going back towards the one. Okay, so this is what is being said. Now, but if we remember that even buddhi is in itself an inert action of inconscient force, and that there is certainly, in this sense, an inconscient will and intelligence, a discriminative and determinative form, even in the atom. If we observe the crude, inconscient stuff of sensation, emotion, memory, impulsion in the plant, and in the subconscious forms of existence, if we look at these powers of nature force, assuming the forms of our subjectivity in the evolving consciousness of animal and man, we shall see that the Sankhya system squares very well, okay, well enough rather, with all that modern inquiry has elicited from its observation of nature, of material nature. So it's a huge sentence. We have to understand exactly what he's saying. And look at the words. Buddhi in itself, our intelligence, okay, our so-called intelligence, that which is a sharp intelligence in us, is not at all a consciousness. Fantastic statement is making. It is a mechanical action. Okay? Buddhi, you have your body, you have your vital, and you have your mind. At our level, it is an inconscient force of nature manipulating these three things. It is not your consciousness. Your consciousness is the soul. The mind is just a machine. The mind is just responding to the impacts of the universe. The vital is responding to the prana of the universe. The body is reacting mechanically, unconsciously to the impacts of the physical world on you. The physical world is imposing food on you, and you are also eliminating and throwing out stuff, okay, by your evacuation, okay, and you are interacting with the world. But this is all a mechanical action. It's a machine. Your body, mind, life is a machine. That's what he's telling you. Inert action of inconscient nature. It's surprising, but that's exactly what it is, because you are bound. It's a machine. There's no freedom with at all. You think you are doing, but you are not doing at all. Okay? And when your consciousness of the soul escapes from the body mind life and goes to the higher mind level, then you realize that, oh my God, I thought I'm doing everything. I'm not. I'm only a pure witness. I'm only watching everything. The body mind life is a machine, is a puppet being manipulated by the strings of nature. And what are the strings? The puppeteer is the nature, universal nature. And what are the strings? String of mind, string of vital, and string of physical body. So that's what you are. Okay. And this is one of the big realizations in Karma Yoga. Other yogas also. When you go to the self, your consciousness rises to the self, and you see that you are not the doer at all. Doership disappears. And if the doership disappears, your ego also will disappear. Because it's the ego that is thinking that I am doing, I am emoting, and I am acting. You are not. It's a universal nature is making you do all that. That's what Siddhi is saying here. Buddhi is in itself an inert action of inconscient nature. Inconscient nature. Nature at the lower level, matter, life, and mind are all mechanical. When you go only up, then the consciousness starts. Okay? So mechanical, pure force, nature, and that is certainly in this sense an inconscient will and intelligence. And now Swami is saying something fantastic. If you go down even below matter, you will see that all these things are there even in the atom. Now I want to discuss this a little bit because it will open up your mind, because it is fantastic what he's saying. We have seen that in physics, okay, if you try to position, if you try to determine the position and the velocity of a particle, okay, you can't do both. It's very interesting. In other words, X, Y, Z, any format that you have, any space that you have can be divided into vertical, horizontal, and horizontal can be length and breadth. So you have a frame, the vertical and the horizontal and the breadth, and you can locate the position of that by X, Y, Z. Okay, when you specify X, Y, Z, it is very, very clearly you know where that atom is. Okay, but they have seen something very interesting, and all the atom in the physical world is moving. So I want to see where that atom is, and I can fix X, Y, Z. But if I fix X, Y, Z, I don't know its velocity. This is what physics is telling you. And if you fix the velocity, you can't fix its position. In other words, the atom has a choice. Okay, so that's exactly what he's saying. It's a discriminative and determinative force even in the atom. So just think about it. All the consciousness, the super conscient is there. This super mind is there even in the atom, but hiding at a very, 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 very low level. There is consciousness, there is force, there is ananda, everything is there in the atom. Okay? Discriminative and determinative force, even in the atom. And if you observe the crude inconscient stuff of sensation, emotion, memory, impulsion in the plant and in the subconscious forms of existence. So now let's see. He has already told you it is there in the atom. Everything from above is there in the atom. Now he is telling you something very interesting. Now think about it. Stuff of sensation, he is talking about the plant. Not he is talking about matter, now he is talking about the plant. Just see. Sensation in the plant. Yes, we know that plant, touch me not, mimosa. Okay, it reacts to you, and you can see the reaction. If you touch the plant, the leaves close. So it is sensation. Then we also know that the lily opens and closes at night and day. So it is sensation. Even the plants have sensation. Okay, do they have emotion? Now modern science has discovered that plants also have emotion. The secret life of plants, if you read, you will see that. We know also that plants react to beautiful music. They react to beautiful thoughts. Okay, all this is common knowledge now because so many experiments have been made. So it is also emotion. Plants have emotion. Now what about memory? It's highly interesting. Plants have memory. Yes, that also. I'm going into detail to show you how Sridhar is meaning everything, and every word has got a meaning. How does a plant have memory? I'll tell you what the experiment was, okay? Maybe you've heard about it already. Suppose I have a plant in a room, and let us say 10 plants, okay, of the same one. Let us take any one. Let's say the flower hibiscus, 10 plants of hibiscus or 10 plants of plasticity or whatever. These are the flowers. Now, suppose I make an experiment. I go into that room where the 10 plants are there, and one plant, you can do two things. Either you can speak beautiful words to it and you tell it how beautiful you are, or you can destroy it. Okay. Now, if you say beautiful words, these vibrations affect the other plants also, although you're talking only to one plant. Okay. There's a memory and a reaction to all this. And suppose you break a plant, okay, you break the branch, then next time you come into the room, all the other plants which have not been broken, okay, they start reacting with fear, which can be recorded on a oscillograph. So this is an experiment that they have done. It's fantastic. So this is what Sridhar is saying, memory. He said, remember, just like a dog has memory, we know. If you throw a stone at a dog, next time the dog sees you next day, he is going to bark at you. The memory is there. But even the plant has got memory. We don't need to restrict ourselves only to the Gita. You have to see how deep Sridhar is going into this. And modern science is actually verifying and confirming all that is being said here. Okay. So the plants also have memory and impulsion in the plant. Impulsion. Impulsion means there's a sort of will in the plant. Okay. They know how to get water. The tip of the root is hydrophilic. Hydrophilic means it is sensitive to water and it loves water. Hydrophobic means that which is fearful of water. So the tip of the root is hydrophilic. It goes and seeks water and gets it. Okay. There is an intention in the plant. So this is so interesting. Consciousness is there hiding in the plant, which expresses itself in this way. And the higher part of the plant wants light, so it goes up. If you take a potted plant and turn it upside down, it will not grow down. It will go up because it wants light. Okay. So that's a memory, and there's a will also in it. So what Sridhar is saying, even in the atom, even in the plant, even in the animal, all these things are there. In man, it starts becoming more and more conscious and more obvious. Okay. So that's what he's saying. If we look at these powers of nature force, assuming the forms of our subjectivity, so all that he has told you, sensation, emotion, memory, impulsion are all subjective. They seem to be subjective, but actually at the body, mind, life level, they are not subjective at all. They are just objective, mechanical, unconscious. In the evolving consciousness of animal and man, we shall see that the Sankhya system squares well enough with all that modern inquiry has elicited, provides observation of material nature. So, modern science, material nature, they are saying that life is coming out of matter, and out of that, mind is coming out. They don't speak of evolution in that sense, but they speak of this coming out. Okay, so this is the Sankhya is saying the same thing. Okay, now I go to the next sentence. It's very interesting what he said. So if you look carefully at every word, sensation, emotion, memory, impulsion, we went into each word to see how it is applicable even in the atom, even in the plant, and even in animals. Animals and man is very obvious. That sensation, emotion, memory is there. But it is there in plants. Fantastic. And even there in the atom. So, if we look at these powers of nature that we read, okay, so now I read the next sentence. In the evolution of the soul back from Prakriti towards Purusha, that means from down to up, okay, the reverse order has to be taken to the original nature evolution, okay. And that is how the Upanishads and the Gita, following and almost quoting the Upanishad, states the ascending order of our subjective powers. Now, he is referring back to chapter 3, verse 42. Indriyani paranyahur indriyebhya param manah manastu para buddhir yo buddhehe paratastu saha. This is the 42nd shloka of chapter 3. So, Purusha is higher than Buddhi, Buddhi is higher than Manas, Manas is higher than the senses. This is what is being said. So, it's very clearly the evolution. Okay, that's what the Upanishads are also saying, and the Gita also is saying. This is from the Gita. Supreme, they say, beyond their objects are the senses. The senses are superior to the sense objects. Obviously, supreme over the senses, the mind. Supreme over the mind, the intelligent will. That which is supreme over the intelligent will is he. So, Buddhe paratastu saha is he. Saha. Who is that? The Supreme Purusha. Is a conscious self, the Purusha. Therefore, says the Gita, it is this Purusha, this supreme cause of our subjective life, which we have to understand and become aware of by the intelligence. The highest in us, the Purusha. The Purusha can be at many levels, but ultimately you have to go to the highest level. That's the Purushottama. Okay. So you have to understand it by the intelligence. Intelligence is being used in the sense of consciousness. In that, we have to fix our will. So, yoga is nothing but fixing your will. I want to know the ultimate reality. So, holding our lower subjective self in nature firmly poised and stilled by means of the greater, really conscious self, we can destroy the restless, ever-active enemy of our peace and self-mastery, the mind's desire. So, how do you come to know the Supreme Purusha? By silencing the body-mind life, the mechanical action of body-mind life, and therefore you have to get rid of the desire. If you get rid of the desire, you will be able to. Now look at the last sentence, very interesting. So holding our lower subjective nature in nature, lower subjective self in nature, your body-mind life. Okay, firmly poised. Don't let it run about here and there like the mind and the vital are running about all the time. Even our body in children is very restless. As you grow older, it becomes less restless. But still, the mind and the vital are always restless. So, holding our lower subjective self in nature, firmly poised, remove all extra unnecessary movement and still make it absolutely silent. How do you do that? By means of the greater, really conscious self. Use your Atman, the power of your psychic being or self, and make your mind absolutely silent. We can destroy the restless, ever-active enemy of our peace. And what is the restless, ever-active enemy of our peace? Desire. That has to be eliminated. And when you eliminate desire, attachment also goes away, and also ego also goes away. Then you can go to the higher level of consciousness and experience the Purusha. That's what he's saying. Now the Purusha is identified with the Prakriti. Prakriti is the body-mind life. In simple words, your soul is thinking that it is body-mind life, identified with body-mind life. So, a very interesting para. So, I went into great detail because it is so interesting if you see the total picture. Yeah? So, every time you go through these and see each word, what should be saying, it's so interesting, but complicated. I agree, it's a little complicated. But if you slowly think about what he's saying, you must be also aware of the Sankhya philosophy, and you must also be aware of the latest discoveries of science and the experiments that are being made all over. Okay, I'll refer to two experiments. One experiment in a paddy field, they played violin music and the plants responded beautifully with very little waste and good growth of the paddy. That's one experiment in Annamala University with the I mean, there are hundreds of experiments, but this is one. Then the other one is the Japanese who experimented with jugs of water. Okay, he put two jugs of water in two different rooms. The one he went on speaking beautiful thoughts, and the other one he neglected altogether. And the one that was neglected, he made that jug of water into crystals by putting it into a refrigerator, and both. And the one that he had spoken beautiful words to, beautiful symmetrical crystals, and the other one half-earth crystals. So even matter responds to beautiful thoughts and destructive thoughts. They respond. That's what he's saying in the whole para. Okay, we have spent, we read two paras, and the second para was so detailed because he's talking of sensation, emotional, memory, impulsion in the atom, the plant, the animal, and man. Okay, and we saw that yes, what all that is being said in the Sankhya is actually verified by science. Okay, it's 8:35 and we have to stop here. So tomorrow, not tomorrow, next week, but evidently there are two possibilities of the action, upward or downward. That we will see next time. Okay.
What you
Merci beaucoup.
Okay.
your Savitri,
Huh.
which YouTube channel
Huh.
hear your Savitri lecture?
Yeah. It's nothing. It's very simple. All you have to do is to go to YouTube and type out Live Divine with Ranganath. That's all.
No, Savitri.
But yeah, but you will get the Savitri also. It's the same channel. The same channel.
Okay, Life Divine with Ranganath.
Yeah. Yeah. If you do that, you will get the channel.
Thank you.
Okay. Au revoir, everybody. Have a nice day.
Au revoir. Bonjour. Merci.
Okay.